We are just 6 days away from October and the official start of the Halloween season, and the Xfinity Editors are preparing for the inevitable onslaught of dude bros dressed like Ken from the Barbie movie by carbo-loading scary entertainment directly into our eye holes. So today, we each decided to take a deep dive into Xfinity's scary movie library by selecting our 3 favorite horror movies in our favorite horror movie subgenre. Nicole, get us started, please. What is your favorite horror movie subgenre?
Uh, Easy pick for me. Comedy, horror, all the way. I don't wait until spooky season to enjoy this genre, but I enjoy it year round. The list was tough to pull because I have a lot of favorites, but I did narrow it down to these 3. So first one, Frighteners. This is a 1996 comedy horror film starring Michael J. Fox, Jake Busey, and Dee Wallace. Also directed by Peter Jackson and filmed in New Zealand. So there's some Lord of the Rings foreshadowing there. I saw this in the 90s on pay-per-view, which is such a crazy line. And I loved every minute of it. Fox's character is a lovable con man that can communicate with the dead. He actually sets up these little cons with like ghost friends. Basically they acted like Ghostbusters, so he's cleansing the house. But really he's just trying to collect money on this. But it's not all comedy, soon they realize that there is a mysterious figure killing innocent people. And Fox's character is determined to find out, who's doing this and try to resolve it. Lots of great moments in this one, for sure. Next up, Army of Darkness. Sticking with the 90s, this one is from 1992, directed by Sam Raimi, a sequel to the Evil Dead franchise. Bruce Campbell reprises his role as Ash, but this time, instead of battling a demon in a crabby cabin, he's thrown back in time to 1300 AD and basically teams up with King Arthur on this one, which is hilarious. Now, this one is definitely more comedy than horror, but it's still him battling a demon with one hand now. And he just basically needs to navigate this new world while trying to get back to present day. So it's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of ridiculousness. I still quote this movie all the time. Bruce Campbell does horror so well. It'd be a shame to miss this one for sure. Last but not least, I chose Creep on Netflix. Our fellow editor, Maddie, recommended this one to me, and I was very pleasantly surprised. This one is technically categorized as a horror thriller, but you will laugh awkwardly the whole time. Patrick Bryson's the star, writer, and director of this found footage film. Also starring Mark Duplass, who has played in a lot of different comedies. Basically, it's like a demented version of My Life with Michael Keaton. Not sure if either of you have ever seen that movie, but Duplass's character hires a videographer to film his last days because he apparently has a terminal illness. So he can give this to his future son, and they'll have some kind of relationship when he's gone. But the character is awkward and weird, and it just leaves you questioning everything throughout the movie. It just gets weirder and weirder. I won't spoil anything, but I laughed a lot during this one. Just I'm creeped out, but this is kind of amusing in a way. Certainly a Friday night at home kind of movie. But yeah, that's my spiel. Liz, any thoughts?
Oh my gosh, so many. And because I know that I've mentioned this before, I've never seen any of these movies, and it's because I'm not a horror fan at all. And this segment I was dreading. I know you guys were so excited about it, and I'm like, ah. But are these funny, overtly funny? I would laugh, so more comedy than horror.
Certainly. I mean, Army of Darkness is silly.
Okay.
There's a little bit more elevated comedy, but
so I might like these. I didn't know that was a thing, and maybe I'll look for that.
I have never heard of Creep. Although when you said found footage, I was like, because found footage is hit or miss,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, no one compares to Blair Witch, but yeah. It was done in a good way. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I don't know if you guys ever saw Searching or Missing. I feel like your eyes are going so many different places at once. It was kind of hard to keep up with, but it's not like that. Definitely not.
And I like Mark Duplass, so that's selling it for me. The other thing that I picked up on was when you said Frighteners starred Dee Wallace, who is like horror movie royalty with The Hills Have Eyes, Cujo, Critters, E.T. What else am I forgetting? Like The Howling, maybe? Like she's been in a ton of stuff. She's like the go-to mom for people that are going to get terrorized in a horror movie. It's like, we need this character's mom. Get Dee Wallace.
Get Dee Wallace on the phone. Yeah. I will say she is not a mom in this one, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I won't say more.
Before her mothering skills, I guess.
Yeah.
Love it.
That is awesome. Liz, now I'm very curious, since you've been dreading this, what you picked for this segment.
Yeah, because they're not like great movies and that like I love to watch these, like just the opposite. These are the ones that scare me the most, right?
Perfect. What is your subgenre?
My subgenre is supernatural horror. And specifically, oh my gosh, specifically all of these that deal with sort of like based on a true story. And if you look at these and you know these and you've watched these, they have a very similar thread all through these where they all share a mentally unstable, haunted mom in a white dress who killed her children and just literally never got over it and haunts everybody else. And so here are my three choices: The Conjuring, Mama, and The Curse of La Llorona. And so yes, James Wan, obviously he's amazing, right? And it's based on, The Conjuring is based on a true story. And we all know the Warrens really well, who that's what they do. They investigated paranormal activity and, no Annabelle, ever heard of that, right? So like, that's the kind of stuff that really creeps me out because it's real. And they went to investigate this particular family and found that, the mother sacrificed her children and sacrificed them to the devil and then eventually killed herself too. And so she haunted the family there. So very scary. Mama, that's also, The Conjuring's available on HBO and Max. Mama, which is a very similar story. These children were abandoned in a forest, and this woman who was sort of like loosely based on La Llorona as well, where she was, I guess, was mentally unstable, threw herself off of a cliff. Her child did not die, but she didn't realize that. So she's like always looking for her child. Well, she found these two children, and these two children who were abandoned in the forest, like, are literally raised by her, if you will. And so then they are found and rescued, and this woman still, she's not really a woman, but this spirit persists on sort of being their mother and is very insistent on it, and follow these children on. And then the story, the Curse of La Llorona, which is based on a true Latin American folklore about, a mother who drowned her children in a rage of jealousy when she found out that her husband was cheating on her. And this, this story available to rent or own on our platform, just really well done. And again, just a mother protecting her children. And I guess maybe this is why it hits hard and hits differently for me. Like, as a mother, I get it. But it also, and not to get too deep into it, right? But it also touches me in a way because it really does, I think, exploit just what motherhood and womanhood is like, and the mental anguish that comes with all of that I think people don't realize how hard it is, and how many times, women are just considered mentally unstable, and how that's kind of like a joke, right? Like, but how hard it is, I think, just as a woman and a mother, and these stories just really, really, really hit home for me when you think that there are people that you want to trust and that you look for comfort, and then they're the very people who are haunting and making life miserable for people. So yeah, I'm literally sweating under this thing. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, no.
Talking about this, it really freaks me out because they were based on true stories. And so that really, really plays with my head in a way that no slasher movie can.
Right.
Yeah, the true story stuff gets me too. I've talked about it, so I won't get into it, but like the movie The Entity, which was the movie that scared me more than anything else in my entire life, was based on a true story. And so, but I didn't know that as a kid until it got to the end credits and it started scrolling and it said, yada, 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 still lives today in California with her family. Like, it doesn't tell you till after. And I was like, this was true? Like, I like, it was afterwards that I just felt like the wave of like heat rush up my body where I'm like, oh my God, could this happen? Could this happen to me? Could the entity find me? So that's the stuff that gets me too.
Just creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry to get all deep on you guys.
No, it was great.
No, I have more of appreciation for why these bothered you so much.
Yeah.
I'm sweating too, thinking about it.
Yeah. Also, listen, I just think it needs to be talked about a whole lot more. And a very quick soapbox here, and I had no intention of talking about this, but mental health is so important. And I think especially for women, I'm obviously not a man and I won't know, but it's very hard for women. And we don't necessarily talk about it as you get older and you get to a certain age where things are just different and your body is going through a whole lot of change that people don't necessarily talk about. And it's real. Although it's invisible to others, it's very real. And it just hits me in a very different way now, being on this side of 45 and understanding what a woman and a mother could feel like and how that is misinterpreted and or just not getting the help that she needs. So not to make this an after school special, guys, but please, mental health is real. And if you ever need help, please reach out to somebody and talk to somebody about it. But sorry to make this, a little more serious than it needed to be. But I think these horror movies, why they terrify me so much is that it's just so real and it touches home for me for sure.
Yeah, it's an important point. I fully, wholeheartedly support the sentiment.
For sure.
It's a strange pivot now to...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. I'm going to pivot to something that's far more ridiculous and hopefully some movies that you can enjoy for how crazy they were in a very absurd way. Because as I discussed on What to Watch Live a couple of weeks ago, I'm extremely picky with modern horror movies because nothing really scares me. I just don't see movies unless they're based on a real story sometimes that really affect me in any kind of way. And there's also very little ingenuity in the genre outside of indie films. But if we're talking about classic horror movies, I love a film that is so outrageously bad that you simply can't unglue your eyes from the screen, which is why my favorite horror subgenre is camp horror. No, not movies that take place at a camp, although that is true in some cases, as you'll see in a moment. I'm talking about a movie that is so ridiculously absurd, gaudy, egregious, and exaggerated in every way that it transcends bad taste to become something amazing. And the first movie on that list is an all-timer in terms of absurdly bad horror movies, the 1983 slasher movie Sleepaway Camp, which follows a troubled young girl named Angela who finds herself at the center of a serial killer spree while attending summer camp. Every aspect of this movie is terrible, from the writing and the acting and the direction and the special effects. But the movie has gained a massive cult following thanks in no small part to the film's shocking twist ending. It's become known as one of the great twist endings in horror movies, but also in all of movie, full stop. The movie spawned an unbelievable 4 sequels, 2 of which starred Bruce Springsteen's sister, Pamela Springsteen, in the lead role of Angela. If you love bad 80s horror movies, if you love bad movies in general, this is the Citizen Kane of that genre. And you can watch it right now on Peacock. It's incredible. It's so good that this is going to be a little inside baseball a little bit, but our internal messaging, people know Slack out there. Slack, there are actually emojis that our fellow colleague and former What to Watch host, Scott, we have added Angela face emojis into Slack that you can use in messages. We've also put stickers up he has a sticker of Angela's face. It's ridiculous. This is too much. Moving on. Next, it's just wild. Next up, it's the 2009 Megan Fox horror comedy Jennifer's Body, which is now available to watch on HBO and Max. In my personal opinion, this movie, which was written by Oscar-winning Juno director or creator Diablo Cody, gets a criminally bad rap. Unlike Sleepaway Camp, which was unintentionally terrible, Jennifer's Body was designed to be campy. From the often absurd dialogue, to the exaggerated performances, to the overused horror movie tropes, this movie was intended to be outrageous. Unfortunately, I think the movie's poor reviews and subsequent lackluster box office performance were largely due to backlash against Diablo Cody, a movement that often smacked of misogyny and frustration that a woman found success writing clever, funny dialogue that referenced pop culture. But, I digress. When Seth MacFarlane does it, he's a genius. When Diablo Cody does it, she's a hack. But anyway, I could go on and on. She didn't deserve it. She won an Oscar. Everyone was like, oh, she won this. We're so sick. Oh, they're saying clever, witty things. You're going to do it again? We hate this. Anyway, I not only that, but I did a deep dive into Rotten Tomatoes reviews. Of the 115 negative reviews for Jennifer's Body, 90 of them were written by men. Just saying.
Surprise.
Wow.
Just a fun fact. Jennifer's Body is so much fun and an absolute gem of a camp horror genre. And I know it's become cool to say that, Megan Fox is a bad actress or whatever. She's really good in this. She's just living her best life. She's having fun. They all are. Amanda Seyfried's having fun. It's a lot of fun. It's also bloody and totally outrageously violent, but it's a good time. Finally, a movie that is near and dear to my heart, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, which you can rent or own now on Xfinity platforms. I've loved Gremlins for as long as I can remember. But I didn't know that Gremlins 2 is generally considered inferior to the original until 5 years ago. I was a full-grown adult when I realized people don't generally like Gremlins 2. But again, this is a case of a movie fully embracing its own absurdity. In many ways, Gremlins 2 is a satire of the original film and its massive success, replacing the small-town setting with a New York City skyscraper and introducing a variety of gaudy, pretentious, self-obsessed gremlins like the leopard print skirt-wearing Greta Gremlin and the suit-clad Fraser Crane-like Brain Gremlin. The movie even breaks the fourth wall for a moment when the gremlins interrupt the film reel, tear it apart, and it prompts a theater usher to enlist the help of WWF champion Hulk Hogan, who scares the gremlins into restarting the movie. This all happens in the movie.
Yeah, that's why you like it. I get it now.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. It's great. And apparently that animation was done by the Warner Brothers crew who's behind Bugs Bunny. There's a lot of really great talent behind the scenes. And another fun fact that I love is that the voice of Brain Gremlin was performed by actor Tony Randall, who is, of course, best known for playing Felix Unger in the 1970s TV series The Odd Couple. And for those of you who weren't already aware, the voice of our Mogwai hero Gizmo is performed by the one and only Howie Mandel, which I think most people know, but hopefully one person out there is like, what? Mind blown. But I love Gremlins 2, and I think I might actually go rewatch it as soon as the show's over because it's super weird. And Christopher Lee is in it playing a doctor. There's all kinds of great cameos from people who are like, oh, I recognize that guy. So
I do love it. I'm so surprised that I saw two of these. I love, as crazy as it sounds, I remember Sleepaway Camp. And I just remember the end being I can't believe that just happened. Right. It was crazy. And I remember seeing that. And I remember going to the movies to see the Gremlins. And when that actually happened in the middle of the movie theater, it was mind blowing that this is we've never seen this before. This has never been done.
Yeah.
It was exciting. It was very exciting. But yes, I love these. I love these two. I've never seen Jennifer's Body, but I do love 2 out of the 3 for sure.
I feel like it's worth mentioning that Sleepaway Camp has endured a lot of criticism in recent years because of issues of gender identity as it relates to one of the characters that I'm not going to spoil. But so I think that's worth like acknowledging that in modern terms, it is problematic. There's not even a but. It is problematic.
Yeah.
So take it as you will. It's still a really wild movie. It's campy, it's dumb, it's really, really bad. If you like slasher films, you will enjoy this, but worth acknowledging that point.
Good call out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Check out all the movies we just talked about simply by saying what to watch into your Xfinity voice remote. You can also browse a curated collection of horror movies, scary TV shows, creepy music, and so much more by saying Halloween.